Hello students, today we read our lesson 5 Footprints Without Feet from our supplementary book Footprints Without Feet. Two boys were surprised to see muddy footprints on the steps of a house. They seemed to be marks left by some man who walked without feet. The boys gazed at the footprints which were going downstairs to the street outside the house. These were the footprints of Griffin. He was a scientist who had made himself invisible by taking some medicines. His body had become transparent like glass. Griffin was a lawless but brilliant scientist. He had no control over his temper. He was a tenant. When his landlord tried to eject him, he set the fire on the house. He removed his clothes and lived in this state as an invisible man. He had no money, so he wandered from place to place. The boys were following Griffin, but he managed to escape. He was feeling cold and shivering. As he had no clothes, he entered a big London store to warm himself. He opened boxes and wrappers and put on warm clothes, shoes, an overcoat, and a hat. Thus he became a fully dressed invisible man. In the kitchen of the restaurant, he ate meat and drank coffee, tasted sweets and wine stolen from the grocery store. Then he lay down on the pile of the quilts and went to sleep. When an assistant came in the morning, he threw off all his clothes and became invisible again. Thereafter, he entered a theatrical center in Durway Lane. He covered his head with bandages, his eyes with dark glasses, his nose with a mask, and his cheek with whiskers, and his head with a broad-brimmed hat. Then he attacked the shopkeeper from behind and robbed him of money. He went to Epping and booked 2 rooms in an inn. Mr. Hall was the landlord of the inn and Mrs. Hall was the landlady. He told her that he wanted to live a lonely and peaceful life. He paid the rent in advance. Soon he became penniless again. Griffin went to the house of the clergyman to steal his money. The clergyman and his wife heard the chink of the money that Griffin was taking from the clergyman's desk. The clergyman took a poker and went after the thief. There was no thief, yet the money had been stolen. The next morning, the landlord of the inn and his wife saw Griffin's room open, but no Griffin in them. Seeing nobody, they decided to investigate. They saw the clothes and bandages of the Griffin laying about the room. Then a hat laying on the bedpost leapt up and dashed itself into Mrs. Hall's face. The bedroom chair rose from the ground and attacked her. This chair pushed with its legs both of them out of the room, and the door was locked again by the invisible Griffin. Mrs. Hall was convinced that the room was haunted by ghosts or spirits. Neighbors who came there said that somebody was practicing witchcraft. The news of the burglary in the clergyman's house became known to the people, and the finger of suspicion was pointed at the scientist. He had no money a few days back, and now he had the money. The village constable was called to arrest the scientist. Mrs. Hall went to meet Griffin without waiting for the arrival of the constable. She asked him what he had done to her chair, which had attacked her, and how he had come out of an empty room and then entered a locked room. The quick-tempered scientist threw off his bandages, whiskers, spectacles, etc., and became a headless man. Before horrified people, Mr. Jaffer the constable arrived on the scene. He moved forward to arrest a headless man. Griffin became more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. Finally, the constable found himself struggling with an invisible person. Those who tried to help the constable were hit by the blows of Griffin. The constable was badly hit and became unconscious. The scientist escaped, and nobody knew where he had